Good evening, everybody. Mike Naso from IPR365.com with the latest on the tropics. When we take a look out there today, we do have the fourth named storm of the 2010 Atlantic hurricane season, which for August 23rd, around 1999, we were coming up on Hurricane Dennis. So that was the fourth named storm, and of course, that was a very devastating and active season. So even though this season has been hyped up and it's looking like, oh, what if it doesn't live up to the hype? It only takes one, and even still, I think we're going to have more than one that we're going to have to deal with. But right now, the one we're dealing with is Danielle, which is sitting right here in the central Atlantic. Looks may be foreboding because right now, this system is actually a little bit displaced off to the east of the convection because of this easterly shear, but that's going to let up and the system's going to pool like this on off towards the northwest and become a powerful hurricane. Also in blue is Frank. Cool old Frank sitting here south of Mexico. Won't be so cool if it drops some heavy rainfall and if it strengthens into a strong hurricane. Right now it could get up 80-85 miles an hour, so not too strong, but still formidable. We'll talk about both Danielle and Frank over the next couple of minutes. Alright, here's the latest on Danielle as of 11 p.m. It was at 14.2 north, 35.9 west. Winds were up to 50, gusting to 65. It's moving northwest at 12. Notice that northwest already. And if it continued that, it would end up much further north, but it is expected to bend a little bit more west-northwest under the ridge, and then as a weakness in the high pressure comes along, due to the troughiness, it's going to pool on towards the northwest, and there are indications that it might end up having some rebuilding ridging, but not enough to push it straight west into South Carolina, for example, but enough to stall it out or slow it down before moving it out to sea. 1,000 millibars, and again, forecast to be at least 100 miles an hour by Friday. So if you're in Bermuda right here, keep a close eye on this one. No doubt about that. It's going to be something we're going to have to deal with. And here's the model guidance. Again, you can see the motion 5 days out would be straight out towards Newfoundland. But right now it is expected to gradually make that curve. But notice some of these models here indicating that it could end up sticking around a little bit more here in the northwest Atlantic, and we'd have to deal with it. You can see on the AVN colorized satellite, Danielle is bursting beautifully this evening, but it is displaced. The center is off in this region here, and most of the convection is to the west of that due to that easterly shear. However, as that abates, we will begin to see intensification. You can see that better here. Note the system is looking, first of all, I should note it's very large and powerful looking, but it's not exactly powerful yet. If there was an eye in the middle of this, you'd go, wow, that's a strong hurricane. But of course, it doesn't have an eye. It's not a hurricane. The center is off right here. You can see that convection plume started here, and over the course of the day, it blew up over the night as we got here later into the evening. And so this is going to be a large and dangerous hurricane as it pulls on up generally towards Bermuda. If I were in Bermuda, I know you're going to get high swells regardless. Same in the islands, Puerto Rico, the Bahamas, the East Coast. This one's going to be one heck of a hurricane, but it's probably not going to be a landfall threat, at least not now. And I'll show you why. Here's the euro, and you can see in 144 hours it does show it reaching a weakness, but look at the rebuilding ridge here. This is an indication here of building high pressure. And in that situation, we'd probably be dealing with something that would eventually break through, but probably slow down as it does so, and we wouldn't have to worry about too much of that. You can see Hurricane Bertha 2 years ago. That was in July, but it was a similar situation. It became a major hurricane, and then it weakened, and then became a hurricane again, but it slowed down as it neared Bermuda, remember? And there wasn't quite enough of a push to push it straight out, so it slowed down and kind of looped around, but then eventually did go out. Yeah, I think we're going to see something like that with our Hurricane Danielle, when it becomes a hurricane, of course. And this is one reason why it's not going to do it over the nighttime hours, it doesn't look like, because the anticyclone, the high pressure, which would be very favorable over the top of it, ventilating it, is off to its northeast. Thus, we are seeing shear coming in east to west, easterly shear here of a good 10-20 knots, and that's displacing that strong convection. As a matter of fact, that might be one reason why the convection is blowing so much, because it's trying to fight off that shear. Remember, these anticyclones, this happens sometimes. It happened with Hurricane Francis somewhat in 2004, and more recently in 2008 when Hurricane Gustav had one of these over the top of it, became a Cat 4 before it hit Cuba. But then the center moved to the north, and instead of having it over the center, it had it coming on shear-wise from the south, displacing the convection to the north, and thus Gustav weakened to a Category 2 before making landfall. And that was something that, thankfully, we didn't have to deal with too much. There's another look at our tropical storm Danielle this evening, clearly trying to strengthen, and doing so. It is up to 50 miles an hour, but not doing it all that rapidly. That huge wave that left yesterday behind it is still there. We're going to watch this as it moves west for the potential for some development, no doubt. Finally, in the Eastern Pacific, here's Frank as of 11 p.m., 14.0 north, 96.8 west, 55, actually, let me mark that, 60 mile an hour winds, moving west slowly at 6,000 millibars, just like Danielle. And we do have those watches and warnings due to the fact that this could be relatively close to the coast as it becomes a hurricane and moves out. But as of right now, it doesn't look like Frank's going to be a major hurricane, although looking at the latest satellite, you got to watch these small ones. Look at how that curls up right in there. Watch that. Watch that little curling up there pretty good there, Frank. So we're going to watch this as it moves to the west. Certainly something to keep an eye on along the south coast of Mexico. I'm Mike Naso from IPR. I'll see you next time with more on Danielle and Frank.